Welcome to the WWH show. This is a show that asks a series of why, what, and how questions on those topics that have national, regional, and global significance and implications. Today we have such a topic to talk about, why we should focus on our strengths. In our studio, I have the privilege to talk to Catherine Zaranis. She's an organizational expert, and she's also a lecturer at the University of Maryland. Catherine, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me, AZ. It's a great privilege to be here today.
I'm glad that you are here, and let's talk about why we should focus on our strengths. Why should we ignore our flaws, weaknesses, and focus on our strengths?
So we focus on our strengths because we're able to really tap into our passions when we do that. We may not necessarily ignore our flaws. We acknowledge them, but we manage around them. And when we do that, we're able to really devote our energy to the things that we're really great at, the things that bring us joy, and the things that give us life.
Exactly. So, but what's the disadvantage? For example, some people, if they decide, even some organizations, if they decide to focus on their weaknesses and their flaws, for me, it's too much because everybody has some kind of weaknesses or flaws, of course, and nobody is perfect or no organization is perfect. Now, if I focus on my weaknesses, on my flaws, it is too much, and also it compromises my strengths, which means when I focus on my weaknesses, whatever I focus, it's gonna happen again and again, and I ignore or undermine my strength.
Yeah, and when you focus on your weaknesses, you're really talking about remediation, right? You're going backwards. Whereas when you focus on your strengths, you're really thinking about it. It makes you think about what gifts you have, right? Mm-hmm. And so it allows you then to be more generative and to move more towards the future.
Exactly. I think our strengths also tells us that this is the reason where we are here. That's the reason for us to focus and serve our community, our organization, and also our family. If we really tap into our strengths, means we tap into our potential.
Yeah, and we're able to do things that we may not realize we're able to do, right? So, working on the strengths, you're going to create many more possibilities than trying to remediate weakness.
Exactly. So this is about us moving forward and achieve our dream if we focus on our strengths. Yeah. But still, there are people who are, and organizations focusing on their weaknesses. Why do you think are they focusing on their weaknesses?
I think the reason why we all think about weaknesses is because of the way our brains work. We're hardwired to really go into like a fight or flight, and so it comes very natural to protect a vulnerability. And so working to protect weaknesses or to make sure that you're marginalizing them or minimizing them is something that's a survival mechanism. And so trying to really focus on your strengths is a new way of thinking. I mean, you have to bring a little bit of energy, right? So it may not come very naturally for people. And so this is why individuals that are part of organizations don't always operate that way.
Yeah, I like the word natural way, because naturally, because of the way our brain works, we incline to protect our weakness or spend time on our weaknesses and flaws than acknowledging our strengths and working and investing on our strength.
And we're going to get a lot further. A lot of people, they don't also think about their strengths because it's for some reason it may be they're unaware of it. What comes naturally or as a strength for me, I'm unaware of it because it's so easy for me.
Exactly.
I assume that it must be very easy for other people too, and so I'm not aware and conscious of my own potential because it comes so naturally to myself, right? So why would I think about this?
Exactly. By the way, when it comes to weaknesses, at one point I decided in my life that I sat down and I tried to write down my weaknesses and my flaws, of course, my strength, my blind spots, and so on. And I learned that, hey, those things that I say, my weaknesses, they're not actually my weaknesses. Because the way I'm wired now, the way I am, I'm perfect for the thing that I should do, for my passion. But here is a challenge. Initially, I was thinking, for example, I see on my height, I'm short, maybe I see on my intellectual capacity, especially when I see people who are sharp, I say, oh, I don't have, this kind of intellectual power like this people. Now, I stopped comparing myself. I started to accept who I am. And finally, I decided that, hey, my true identity, for that matter, is not what I know or what I do, my skills, or even my body, my flesh, my bones, my height, my color. It's not my true self. My true self is within me, which means the inner man. The inner man doesn't have any weakness. The inner man doesn't have any flaws. So I started to focus on my inner personality, which means it's a spirit and it doesn't have weakness, flaws, because every spirit, every human being is the same when it comes to, your inner personality.
We're all connected.
Yes, your inner person. The problem is when I see my height, I may compare myself with somebody who is 6 foot or 7 foot. Why should I compare? Because who I am doesn't matter based on my, my height or my knowledge or my capacity or even my talent. So I should focus more on my inner personality, which is perfect.
Yeah, and trying to bring that to light in the best possible way.
Exactly.
Right? And to bring it more often and to be conscious of it, to be able to share it with people, right?
Exactly. So when I listen to my inner personality, who I am truly, what happens is that I focus on my strength. Because for the reason I'm here in this world, I'm well equipped.
That's right.
I'm well packaged. So why should I look somewhere and say, oh, I don't have this. Why should I focus on my limitations, my weaknesses? Why I focus on who I'm not? Rather, I know that my inner personality is perfect for the reason I'm, called into this world, born into this world, and then I tap into that potential and pursue it until I'm fulfilled. Pursue it until I bring my potential. That led me to ignore my weaknesses, my limitations. I don't compare myself with people. I fail to embrace my weaknesses. As I said, they're not actually weaknesses, because the very reason that who I am is nothing to do with those weaknesses or those limitations. I'm the one creating them. I'm the one imagining them, because I compare myself with other people. I say that, okay, I don't have this, or I cannot do this. Why should I forget about, why don't I forget about what I can't, what I don't have, and focus on what I have, what I can bring into this world?
And that's true. And when we focus on what we can and what we can and we have more, exactly. Right? Because we start to notice those things. Yep. And then others start to notice those things because we share them and we talk about them and we practice them more, like a musician or like an athlete,
Exactly. And the more we bring them out and the more we focus on our strengths, means we don't have time to whine about our weaknesses, limitations.
There's no room for it.
Exactly.
There's no room.
Yeah, you improve them, you go out, serve the world, you're passionate about your strength, and that gives you the competitive and the comparative advantage that people look for you, for that particular passion you have, for that strength you have, and you're busy working with people. Now, people don't need to come to you for your limitations, your weaknesses, because now you have so many things you can offer to the world based on your strengths and passion.
The hardest part is figuring those out and feeling comfortable sharing it. A lot of people don't, as I said, because they're either not aware, or then when they are aware, they marginalize it. They don't think it's a big deal,
Exactly.
So it's figuring out a way to feel comfortable talking about your strengths and sharing them.
Exactly.
For me, perfect example is I feel very comfortable with strangers, and when I served as a Peace Corps volunteer, I felt very comfortable just meeting new people in a new community, and I thought that everybody felt comfortable talking and meeting to new people. I wasn't really honoring this strength that I have to feel comfortable just meeting and talking to people in different places. But I became aware of that when I was serving, overseas. Then maybe not everybody feels so comfortable just talking to people they've never met before.
Exactly.
So
that's your strength.
That's my strength.
Exactly. Some people may have that difficulty.
Yeah. So and the other ways that I saw that strength play out, my family would often, if there was somebody new that was coming, I was always the person to introduce or meet that person. And at first I thought, well, why is anyone else asking this? Yeah. But I was really not honoring, as I said, the fact that they were recognizing my strength. And so, and now that I recognize it too, I say, okay, yes, I will make people feel comfortable because I like to do this. I'm good at this.
Exactly.
I like to connect people. I like to meet people, all people, anywhere,
Exactly.
So I like to share that strength with others.
Exactly. Everybody should have done that. But that leads me to the question, why people have difficulty to know their strength and invest the rest of their life on their strength?
A lot of people don't want to spend the time going inside, right? Because some people actually may interpret that as being so self-focused instead of self-aware.
Especially
right?
in some cultures.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to really try to think about the gifts and the strengths that you have. And I like to take assessments. Not everybody likes to take assessments. So I took one. A book that was written by Marcus Buckingham when he worked at Gallup. And there is a book that is called Now Discover Your Strengths. And when I took this assessment and I saw the strengths, one of them was the one I shared with you. Yeah. I identified with it, but I thought, is this really a strength? So it was one of those things, it's how it's revealed to you and then what you choose to do with it. So a lot of people will, as I say, they'll marginalize or minimize strength that they have unless they really call it out, own it. They say, yes, this is why I'm here. This is this is the gift that I can offer to my family, to my community, to
our audience.
And to everyone, So it's just feeling comfortable, being able to express your strengths and to feel good about it,
I like what you said because it's about self-awareness. That's why it's very hard for many people to discover their strength and invest on it because self-awareness is tough. As you said, maybe people think that they are a little bit self-obsessed, especially in some cultures, because in some cultures you are encouraged to focus, in meeting the needs and aspirations of your community than yourself. But yes, there are some needs and aspirations of your community you should give priority. But when it comes to knowing who you are, that should be the priority because the more you know your strength, the more you can serve your community with your strength. Why you should muddle into areas where you don't have strength? Why don't you serve your community, your organization, based on your strength? By the way, I read the book Strengths 2.0, which is also written by one of the experts from Gallup. Yeah. And like yourself, I take self-awareness assessments. For example, I usually use, even when I give trainings, I help people to use Johari window.
Oh, yeah.
It helps you to understand what you know about yourself, what you don't know about yourself, and what other people know, what you don't know, and what you don't know, the unknown. And also some of the things that puts you in a very difficult position where people know about your blind spot, but you don't know about them. It's a very strange place. So for me, the most important thing is self-awareness, to sit down, take those assessments, and know our strengths, know our weaknesses, blind spots, even the unknown. Many people, I believe that, for example, for me to go to the next level in my life, most probably there are something that I don't know, the unknown. Those are my strengths, but I don't know about them. Somebody may help me, or maybe taking some assessment may show me that, oh, I didn't know that I have this strengths. And that strength is maybe my competitive advantage. Maybe that's the very reason why I'm here. That's maybe the very reason why I'm not going to the next level. The reason why my business or my organization is not going to the next level.
I know my European friends laugh because they say in America we like to take these tests, and they say, oh, you have to take a test or an assessment to know yourself. Yeah. And I thought it's not the only way. I mean, that's just one way that you can learn about yourself. You get feedback all the time from people around you, even your own family can reveal to you just by what they ask you to do. But if you think about it, the things that people ask you to do, they wouldn't ask you to do it if they didn't think it was a strength you had, right? So if you just write down the things that people in your community or at home or at work that they may ask you to do, that will reveal to you the strengths that you have that you may not be aware of, and realize what a gift it is that individuals are coming to you and asking you for that.
Exactly. I agree, because yes, self-awareness, observation also is very important. Observation of people's comment, because when people see some strength in you, they say some comments that could be able to lead you to discover your strengths if you haven't discovered it yet. And also we have to look back in our history and to see what kind of things I've been doing very easily. What kind of things have been inspiring me when I do them. So if we introspect, go back sometimes and review our life and see where we have been contented, where we have been happy doing something, we could be able to figure out what makes us unique, what makes us special, what makes us competitive.
And also the other side, the things that have given us trouble or that have taken so much energy or have depleted our energy, it helps us it reveals, why is this so difficult? Maybe this isn't something that comes naturally for me, right? Yeah. So it's the universe just sort of saying, shift your energy
toward
this other thing that comes, that is a strength.
Yeah, and one point also I have seen it that, people, why they don't celebrate and focus on their strengths, maybe is because they're trying to appease or make people happy. Let me give you an example. For example, in a certain community or organization, there are certain assumptions or certain expectations. Now, I have strengths. I know that strengths, but I'm not pursuing it because maybe it's not popular in my community, in my organization. Because of that, it's very hard for me to focus on that strength.
That's true. The things that are required of us also allow us to cultivate or to shine light on certain strengths. So sometimes leaving an environment will reveal strengths that we had that we didn't know that we had, right?
Exactly.
So if we're doing the same thing in the same place with the same people, we don't have the opportunity to practice those other strengths too. So that also making another shift, right, of environment allows us to become more aware of our strengths, right?
Exactly. I meet some people, friends, colleagues, and sometimes I ask them, what you doing right now? Are you passionate about it? They tell me, I'm not. But I have to do it because I have to earn. I have to do it because I need paycheck. And I say, why don't you find something that makes you passionate, happy, contented, and at the same time that can also pay your bills? Now they say, oh, it's not the field that, I can easily penetrate. Oh, this is maybe the field where I may not be able to find jobs. Oh, this is a field where I may not be competitive enough. Look, they have the passion. They know that they can do it, but they evaluate themselves based on the market or maybe based on the acceptance of the people they respect. They try to find a job that everybody likes. They want to take a job that everybody pays easily for them. So my challenge to our audience is maybe your strengths is unique in your organization, in your community. Even if it may not be paying right now, it may pay you in the long term. At least you can be happy, healthy, and you can contribute something, and with a potential that in the future there may be return of investment. So we should not always, ignore our strengths because it's not paying us.
So those are all things that we're looking at that are outside of ourselves, right? So all of those things are things that are not things that we can control or manage. Whereas if we acknowledge our own strengths and we listen to our own passion, right, that won't lie to us. We're responding to that voice inside of us that's telling me this makes me happy. This is something that I'm passionate about. But when you focus on all of the things that are outside, it creates noise for you. You know, that voice is louder than the one that's telling you about your strengths, right?
You can't perform also at your best because that's not your strengths. And I believe that, you know, it may be challenging, I understand that, but we should know our strengths, even if it is hard, even if there may be some prices, even if there are some risks. For me, if I know my strengths, and if it's not really popular, why don't I take the risk? I may become a pioneer. Once people see that I'm doing it very well, they may start to embrace it. So why don't I take the risk of becoming a pioneer?
That's a great point. So that's how new things, generative things, creative things, things that haven't existed before come to be when we have the courage actually to step out and to use our strengths, even when the environment isn't right, you know, very ready for it, right? Yeah. We still feel comfortable by listening to our strengths and practicing them and sharing them, right?
I like that because, you know, many of the successful billionaires right now, if you see them, they went to school, they see that this school cannot equip them for their strength, they quit, they dropped out, they started their own business where they have the strength. That's why they are successful. So for me, as you said, every invention that we are enjoying today, someone recognized his or her strength, someone took the risk and ventured out to innovate. Now, without these people, as community, as society, wouldn't have been here. We won't go anywhere without this kind of people who take risk based on the knowledge they have about their strengths. Because for me, each and every individual in this world is capable of innovating something, capable of serving their community in a unique way, capable of solving a problem that we couldn't be able to solve it, capable enough to take us to the next height. The problem is we are deprived of their talent, their passion, their strength because they don't have that awareness of their strengths. They don't know what it means. Let's say 2 years from now, maybe they are helping us to break through some challenges and problems that has kept us in the darkness, that has kept us in a very vulnerable positions.
So this works this way, the positive psychology movement and thinking about strengths can be applied to groups as well, not just to individuals that are harnessing their own strengths, right? You can think about what gives a community or an organization strength or a country strength, right? Yeah. And think about what that energy really is and how to build on that as an organization or as a group of people. Mm-hmm. So the whole concept of building on strengths doesn't only apply to individual, it also applies to a group of people and to organizations. So you can look and think, oh, this group of people, when you bring them together, this is the strength that is created. And if we can share that strength with even more people, right, then the world gets to appreciate this strength that this group of people have brought us. Yes?
Yeah. We would have been in a better place. Because think about it, if everybody recognize and celebrate his and her strength, if we allow in our organizations, in our nations, in our communities, if we allow people to take the path based on their strength, based on their passion, based on their uniqueness, think about it, the kind of world we would have. The problem now is people are stepping on paths for which they don't have any strength. They see some people succeed in this path, they think they have the strength, then jump there, but they can't succeed fully because they don't have the strength. But if we are, let's say, as you said, as community, live enough, dynamic enough, we could have allowed people, we could have been able to create opportunities for them to serve that community, that organization based on their strengths, their uniqueness. Think about the kind of organization, the kind of nation we could have.
Yeah, we can. I mean, it's something, so it's a matter of starting to stop comparing, as you said before, just countries not comparing or people not comparing themselves to other people, but, you know, really thinking about the strengths that they have and then imagining, right, really dreaming about how, okay, if we shared these strengths with everyone, right, what the world would look like, instead of trying to spend the time comparing, spending the time dreaming about how to use those strengths in a different or better, productive way, right? Yeah. It really could produce something very generative,
Exactly.
something very dynamic, as you said.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
could have been. I mean, that maybe is the next revolution of humanity. And we don't know. This is the kind of change that we should come up with. That's why always I embrace individual. Whenever I meet individuals, I know that they are unique. I know that they can change the world in the way they can, in the way they are wired, in the way they are passionate with. If we allow, the problem is many people. I would like to quote a quotation from Samuel Johnson. He said, "Almost every man wastes part of his life in attempts to display qualities which he doesn't possess." That is one of our weaknesses as humanity, that we spend part of our lives in things we don't have any strength, things that we don't have even the skill and the potential to do it, but we waste our time on those things.
Because we think that's what we're supposed to do.
Exactly. That should change now. As we discussed this, people should really change that and make a paradigm shift and start to think about their strengths and focusing on their weaknesses.
It's really funny when you were talking about possibility. I really think that we're living in a period of enlightenment.
Yeah.
I really think that with the technology that is available, that allows us to be able to share our strengths with people more easily than ever before, I think that we're living in a very dynamic time, and that we are in a period of great enlightenment.
Exactly. I'm very positive, by the way. I'm very positive. I know when you see terrorism, when you see violence, when you see those all bad things in this world, poverty, disease, dictatorship, and so on, you feel like you are overwhelmed and you may feel like desperate, hopeless. But I have that hope that because of technology, because of globalization, because of those few people who venture out to innovate based on their strengths, I believe that humanity will go to the next height, and I believe that the enlightenment we get, through technology, through information, through networking of different nations, sharing of information between organizations, communities, and individuals, I'm optimistic. I don't know when, but it's gonna happen, where we no more say that, hey, this is the only way. We won't say, hey, I'm better than her or better than him. Rather, I'm unique. I have something to contribute. She has some uniqueness, something to contribute. We embrace people based on their uniqueness and strength. Time will come.
Yeah. And it's having the courage and the strength to share those positive qualities, right?
Exactly.
So and the desire to not go into fight or flight, as we said before, right? To resist that survival mechanism and to try to focus on the positive and to focus on strengths.
Yeah.
Just takes practice, right?
Practice, developing habits. But some people may not be convinced so far. They say, "Oh, okay, this is kind of walking on a cloud. You're just imagining. It can't happen. Be realistic." Or I don't see the point why we should even invest on our strength. Hey, I want to improve my weaknesses. I want to work on my limitation, and then I want to be better based on working on my weaknesses and so on. So let's talk about the side effects of not tapping into our strength.
Yeah.
What are some of the side effects?
Disengagement, frustration, maybe even isolation or depression, right? So it's if you're doing something that's not, something that you're feeling very good at, right? But you still have to get up in the morning and do that. That's how you show up, because you're not able to use your strengths and your gifts, like why you're here. Yeah. So, that's hard. That's also, very hard.
It's a missed opportunity. You have strengths. You should have invested your time, energy. Now, because you're not investing on it, you're missing the opportunity, your potential. You cannot maximize your potential until you discover your passion, until you discover your strengths, invest on it, practice. Because why should I live in this world and die before I maximize my potential? Why should I live in this world once I don't have another chance? Why should I die before I empty myself, before I give to the world, serve the world with my strengths? Why? I should question that.
And it's a missed opportunity for yourself and for the world. So if you're
Exactly.
living in this disengaged, isolated, frustrated day to day, right, then the world is experiencing you that way too.
Exactly.
Right? So
Exactly.
it's, and your community and your family and everything. So the other side of that is, okay, by focusing on the strength and imagining the world where you're using your strengths, then you have the opportunity to show up in this very engaged, happy, and connected.
That benefits your community, your organization, not only you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just is an upward spiral for everyone.
Exactly. By the way, what kind of side effects organizations, communities may face when they focus on their weaknesses?
So as a result of that, you see the atrophy, you see apathy, misery. It's one of those things where complaining, nothing's working, right? So if you focus on that, then that becomes the focus of your attention, right? So if you focus on the positive, then that's what you'll find.
Exactly.
What we focus on is what we see, what we think, and what we end up doing.
Yeah, I know some organizations. I study organizations and leaders. And when you see an organization not performing, most of the time they try to defer the problem on other people. Maybe it is because they're not allowing their people to work on their strengths. They're not maybe opening opportunities for their people to focus on their strengths. Maybe they're not configuring their organizations by tapping on the strength of that organization. Maybe because their preoccupation is how to solve problems, how to fix this issue, that issue, how to manipulate people to do something for which they don't have strength.
So part of it is if you don't know your own strengths, you can't share that to even somebody that you're working for, right?
Yep.
They may not, that person may be so busy not focusing on their strengths, that they're not going to focus on yours either, right? So if you are able to identify what those are, right, and share it, and be able to say yes and no, right, to opportunities, if, feeling really comfortable to say, oh, wow, this is not really something that I'm really good at. But you know what? This other person is really, really good at this. You should be working with this other person, right?
Yeah.
Then it makes room for the opportunities that are really your strengths to come your way, right? And then you honor the strengths of others by sharing that with the other person.
Exactly. You mentioned a very important point about saying no. I found out that this is one of the challenges of many people. I had that challenge, saying no. Normally, I may say, okay, I'll try it. I go, but I say, hey, I don't have this passion for this thing. Why should I say yes to this thing? And I go back, renegotiate with that person, saying that, hey, I cannot do it because I'm not good at it. I'm not. So, but now I'm improving that. For example, if somebody comes up to me, even provide me some wonderful opportunities, I evaluate it. If I don't have the strength, if I don't have the passion, I will say, I'm not the right person. As you said, I may recommend, why don't you talk to so and so? And here is the problem. People don't want to take that word, They don't believe that. They don't accept as, no as no, as an answer. They just say, okay, they consider it as if you're trying to avoid responsibility. Maybe you're not interested to work with them. Think about it, bosses giving some assignments to their subordinates, and that person says no because I don't have passion for it, I don't have strength for it, or maybe I'm not trained to do it. So people have difficulties to say no for the thing they're not qualified. So it's very important people to say, no, I'm not qualified. As organization also, if I don't have strengths to do this business, this product, this service, why should I keep on doing it? Why should I say no? Even if this product is profitable for now, in the long term, we don't have the strength. We don't have the competitive advantage. Why should we work on something that we cannot keep on doing, keep on competing, keep on delivering?
So it's funny, the no's aren't indefinite, right? For each no, then it's making room for a yes. Do you know what I mean? So the no's are, no, I'm not going to not do anything. The no is an acknowledgement of a strength and a strength of somebody else, not, no, it can't be done, right? It's more of, I may not be the best person for this, but not because I don't think I'm good at anything. It's because I know I'm really good at this. So do you have something like this, right?
I like
So
that. Exactly.
it's not saying it's not trying to be irresponsible. It's trying to be responsible,
Exactly.
right? So that if you can't do it well for somebody, then are you really doing the right thing, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's your responsibility to know what you're good at, because if you don't know, then you're putting the expectation and the responsibility on somebody else, on your boss, on your
Exactly.
spouse, on whoever, right? Instead of being the responsible one that says, oh, I'm your trusted person to do this because this is my strength, you know? I'm the person that can help you with this because this is what I'm very, very good at.
Yeah, I know some people, you know, they are honest enough to tell you that they're not the right person, but as you say, they always offer their strength. Okay, I may not do this for you, but I'm good at this. Do you want me to help you in this regard? Hey, I don't have the time, the passion to do this thing, but if you want me, I can do this and this and this.
That's right. So you're just redirecting. You're not rejecting, right?
Exactly.
You're just redirecting it to a strength.
So how can we differentiate the two people? Let's say, in one hand, we have a person who tapped into his strength, and we have another person who hasn't tapped into his strengths. Or an organization that has already tapped into its strength, and also an organization which doesn't.
Okay, how do we differentiate them?
Yeah.
We see them. It's really easy to see the ones that are operating from a place. I mean, you and I mean, I'm looking at just like the phone that I have, my iPhone. Steve Jobs, who created this, you know, it was the thing that he was really passionate about. I mean, his tagline was even "Think different," you know.
Exactly.
So he embodied that whole spirit and made that his passion, and you know, didn't produce everything. He produced this product then that had universal design and could use in different ways. So it's just we notice that both in companies, and as I said before, it could be a musician, it could be an athlete, it could be in any of the domains. It doesn't have to just be in business. It can be a priest. It could be you know, it's wherever. You can tell when somebody is living life with strength and with passion, right? You can't fake it, right? Exactly. And so people will say to you, "Oh, you know, you just get paid to be yourself." Exactly. Would that be the greatest compliment, where you're just, you know, just being who you are, right? Yeah. And so by honoring who you are, then that's what you do.
Exactly. I like you said by seeing the results of the individual or the organization, you could be able to tell which organization, which individual has tapped into their strengths. Now, I have reviewed the life of Steve Jobs in my second book, and I have seen, you know, I read his autobiography, I watched all of his speeches, and I could be able to see, you know, this is a man who tapped into his strengths. He dropped out from college. He knew his passion. For example, when at that time, you know, personal computer was not that much known as today. At that time, he knew he was not good in coding. So what he did was he attracted someone, Steve Wozniak, who was a genius in coding. But Steve Jobs was perfect for marketing, selling the product, promoting it. So he used his strengths and the strengths of a partner, and he established Apple Computers. And he was maverick. He knew who he was. He never wanted to buy into dogmas, doctrines, because they are limitations, because they don't allow you to pursue your strength. So Steve Jobs is an embodiment of tapping into your strength. And this man, he died prematurely. But what he did is, the legacy. It's going to affect generations to come. He's going to be quoted. He's going to be appreciated. He's going to be celebrated, by maybe, hundreds of generations in the future. This one man died prematurely, but he used his every time in passion and strengths. He lived with a sense of urgency, and he tapped into his strengths, and he gave the world his strength. That's why we celebrate him. That's why we appreciate it.
And he also dreamed, he imagined, right?
Yeah,
So when
exactly.
you are able to build on your strengths by dreaming of a new world or a new possibility, right? The idea of the phone did not exist before that smartphone, but he reimagined it. I think it was like a dial on a radio. That's when he first started thinking about the turning of the music on the sound on the iPad. So he was just imagining, right, what the device might look like. So it's not getting caught up in what's not working, but really just dreaming about what it is that you find really interesting and curious and passionate about, right? And then using your strengths, just like you said, the marketing, using the strengths that you have as a group to bring that dream to life, right? Working with a programmer, right, that has those strengths and celebrating those strengths, right, to be able to do that part of whatever is going to bring the dream alive.
Exactly. By the way, on top of marketing, Steve Jobs, he has also a strength of, he was also an artist. That's why he sits down and visualize. Think about it now. This is his strength. He could be able to visualize. He could be able to sit down for hours and hours, check this one, see whether this one is okay, visualize, spend those all times because he's working on his strength. Think about it, take him from there and put him in coding, for example, or putting him maybe to sell something that he's not passionate with. I believe that we wouldn't have heard about Steve Jobs. We only heard about him because he tapped into his strengths. Because that strengths, because he's on his strength, he was not tired to think. He was not tired to visualize. He was not tired to work hard.
So I have a question. What's a strength that you share with the world?
The world I share is, one of the things that I'm sharing also here is that my strengths, empowering people. To empower people first, I have to empower myself. The first show I had was The Hour of Empowerment. Everywhere, I'm at training. I came from Minnesota to give 2 weeks workshop. Before that, I was providing 2 days workshop in a government agency. So I'm doing what I love to do, which is empowering people. That's my strength.
That's a really beautiful strength.
What about yours?
So I think about this connecting with people that I don't know. I often use this strength a lot to just get to know people. I love to meet people and I like to learn their stories, just like I'm learning about you here today. I bring that with that passion to my students. I like to learn about them and what their strengths are, right? And help them to focus on those strengths. So for me, it's really about connecting with people. That's a strength that I have, and to connect people with other people. So
that's a great strength. I don't have that. I'm not good at that. So mostly I tap, with other people's strengths. I meet, for example, in my organizations, the organizations that I lead, I bring people for which I don't have strength. I know my strength. I can think. I'm kind of introvert. I'm good in thinking. I can sit for hours to think. I can write. I can read. I can stay in one room even 2 weeks. I can stay there as far as you give me food and water and the internet and something to write and a notebook and computer. I can sit for hours and days. That's my strength. When it comes to go out and market myself, meet new people and engage new people, I don't have that strength. That's why I always admire people for the strengths I don't have. And I always try to connect with them because they teach me something. I also tap, with their strengths, partner with them, and help me and my organizations to advance. So I don't want to say, hey, I'm good in this, and I want to keep on working on this thing because it doesn't take me anywhere. I have to find people and bring people for which I don't have any strength.
But yeah, so it's wonderful. The program that we're doing now is about empowerment and sharing all of those talents that you have through the speakers that you bring.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Which
Yeah.
is a gift,
A
right?
gift, exactly. Yeah, that's why I bring people who have something to give to our audience, and also at the same time myself, because I have to grow through this discussion. For example, I'm learning new stories, and also learning some tips, and increasing my awareness and my knowledge. Let's talk about the solution part now.
Okay.
How can we discover our strength?
So in addition...
As an organization, as an individual?
On an individual basis, I shared with you a few of the things that I personally like to practice. So it's either taking assessments or through observation or through changing an environment so I can develop that self-awareness and not get stale. On an organizational level, we had the great privilege of learning an approach from a dear colleague, Helene Sugarman, who taught us about appreciative inquiry, right? Which was it was a term at first I thought, wow, these are big words. You know, what is this appreciative inquiry? And so the more I started to learn through her about what that really means, which is another strength-based approach, which you can practice with individuals, where you appreciate what is working in an organization, I have found that to be a very powerful way to catalyze and ignite the passion in groups and in people. And so I use this when I'm working with organizations that are wanting to tap into the organizational potential and into individual potential. So you know a little bit about AI,
Yeah, I know about when she presented. You know, Helen, when she presented, I was impressed. That was the first time I heard about appreciative inquiry. For that matter, I have the books that she recommended me to read, because I asked her which book I should, read, which book especially to read first, and she recommended me to read this book, and I read this book. I learned a lot about how appreciative inquiry is very powerful. This is mainly because many organizations, they spend time in solving problems, focusing on which issues to fix, which individual to shape up, and change and so on. But appreciative inquiry is about tapping into what works best for you and your organization, rather than focusing on the problems, the limitations, on the issues. Why don't we focus on what we have been doing good? And if we tap into that, we could be able to repeat the same thing in the future, and that really energizes the people, that really taps into the strengths of the people, and they already know how to do it, so it's not that much complex and difficult to do it again and again.
That's right. It's just shifting an organization the way that an individual shifts from focusing on weaknesses. It shifts the organization from thinking about problems and solving problems to solution finding, right? And to reimagining new possibilities and dreaming about what is possible, and doing it in a disciplined way, where sometimes you're drawing a picture of that too. So once you begin to dream, and I'm not an artist, I draw stick figures, but whenever I'm facilitating an appreciative inquiry session, I am in the moment as well, and I draw with whatever abilities I have, and it really energizes the room. When the team can come together, or the group can come together and create a picture of what's possible, using all of the strengths in the organization, both their individual and then the strength that they have together, the magic happens.
So what do you recommend people to? Now, they heard us the importance of strength, if there are also some leaders watching us, they heard about the importance of appreciative inquiry. So what's next? What kind of steps, what kind of actions people should take to tap into their strengths and benefit from this new theme, which is tapping into your strength?
Well, I think first it's sharing it, having the courage to share what they're strong at, just like you had shared empowerment and I had shared, this connecting with people that I've never met before, acknowledging it and sharing it with people, and finding ways to practice it. What might be a few ways that you start to practice it, right? And then to dream about maybe what what your world or what the world that the community that you're a part of, if you were bringing that strength with you every day, what would that look like? And if you're having a hard time imagining it, you might cut out some pictures, right? Where you're just creating visual images of what that world looks like. And if you are not wanting to cut out, magazine pictures or anything, you might find three-dimensional objects in your house that sort of remind you of that, right?
Yeah.
So that you bring it to life in the 3D every day. It doesn't just stay inside of you. You first sort of, you're aware of it, and then you share it, and then you bring it to life, and you practice it so that this marvelous dream is lived every day.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to tell to our audience, or?
Well, I know I'm so grateful for the opportunity. I'm grateful that we both had the opportunity to meet Helene, who shared with us appreciative inquiry, and created another opportunity for us to share it with the audience, who I'd like to just ask you to imagine what your life would look like if you were tapping into your strengths, and if you were sharing those strengths and using those on a day-to-day basis. What might your life look like? What might your family and your community and your organization look like if you were using a strength-based positive approach? Is this something you could start doing? I'd encourage you.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much for coming. And
thank you.
On behalf of ISAT and our viewers, I appreciate that. I know you're busy. The outside weather is very bad.
It's a little snowy today.
Yeah, but you could be able to come here and share your insights about why we should tap into our strengths. And we had a wonderful time. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for tuning in.
Dear our viewers, as you have seen, we have been talking about the power of identifying our strengths as individuals and also as organizations. And we talked about what prevents us from tapping into our strengths. We talked about how we can also create an environment where we can know our strengths, tap into it, define it, dream about it, and take actions toward this, promoting ourselves, our organizations into the future, based on our strengths. Hope you enjoyed our discussion. Until I see you next time, have a wonderful time.